everybody. I'm Shauna Benson from the Teaching Diverse Learner Center at OCALI. I'm here today to share a few quick tips and strategies for classroom use. And today I am hanging out in Sarah Miller's classroom here in Ohio. And I just wanted to share with Sarah a couple strategies that I think that she might be interested in using maybe throughout the school year. So Sarah, are you ready to kind of take a look at some math strategies today?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, math's sometimes one of those intimidating subjects. I think sometimes it feels like we don't always know how to pair all of the materials together with the concepts, and certainly the standards are something of interest to me, and I know I harp on the standards all the time, so you know that from working with me in the past. But so today we're going to cover some concepts that are related to standards and data analysis and probability. And we're going to show that through some graphing and charting using manipulatives. We're also going to look at numbers, number sense, and counting. And we're going to use voting as a kind of strategy for this. And we've come up with some strategies or some groups of things we think that some of your kiddos will be familiar with from a zoo standpoint in this first round of information. So we're going to actually turn that, though. So some of these concepts are fairly simple, including even color coding and sorting materials by color and color identification. So those are very primary skills. But at the end of this, I'm going to actually show you how to flip it and elevate it into strategies that are a little bit more advanced in age and grade level with some fractional. So turning this data analysis almost into fractional parts. And I'll show you how to do that into a pie graph, okay? So let's get started. So what we had the kids do, we had them make a vote, right? And we asked them which their favorite animal was. So we said, we were talking zoo animals specifically, and there were 5 different animals that we targeted. So we had them vote on either the lion, the monkey, the giraffe, the elephant, or the zebra. And we were using these little pegs, and these are just stacking pegs, and they're color-coded. So we have green, red, purple, yellow, and blue. And we have other colors we could have thrown into the mix as well. And so as the students voted, we just stacked the pegs on each of these different sections. And once we were finished, we asked the students then to count the number of votes or pegs. We asked them then to count, and then we had them associate the counting with, of course, a number. So it's nice to actually have the numbers here to represent the pegs, the range of pegs that we have. And so clearly you can kind of visually see that the pegs have different heights. So for the students, it was pretty easy for them to say, like, this is the tallest or the most, and then this would be the smallest, or the shortest stack and the least number of votes. And then they could talk about the number too. So I think just from having all of these different types of materials, we actually could have the kiddos vote. I have some other groups here of voting concepts. So I know in your classroom you were sharing a little bit about the student choice or preference related to like a snack or something, a food item or whatever, or one of the awards or reward kind of things that you were talking about, like on your Fun Fridays. So I have even an array of examples of different kinds of foods that they might want a choice of on a Friday. We did have colors, so kids could vote on the favorite color that they have instead of the animals. I think thinking through the concepts that are most pertinent to your students would be good. We had another group, a category of animals that would be from the ocean or the sea. So lots of different concepts. And, if you guys are studying certain things in science.
And I can tie it into our question of the day.
Correct.
Like if they have a choice between even more than just 2 animals, whatever it could be, or something we talked about in our book that was read aloud.
Sure. Yeah, voting can truly be on anything. They can vote for anything. And you even have a setup in your room where the kids are coming in and they're not really voting per se, but they're telling you whether they're packing their lunch, they're buying their lunch, or and they have options like peanut butter and jelly or main dish, kind of traditional main dish items. So that's kind of a voting in sense too. So starting off the school year, you could even use something as simple as that to do this kind of an array and just have 3 choices rather than the 5 that we have here too. So I think setting this up and getting the kids, getting their hands on the materials and having them help you manipulate these in a very specific way. And then they can simulate this and play activities and other things you may have going on in your classroom too. I know you were setting up some play bins today. So let's convert this now. Let's take it up a notch. And are there other things before we move into that next section? Are there other things that you can think of for how you could use these materials and all of the concepts and skills, other ideas that come like to the forefront of your thinking for this voting, probability, counting kind of concept?
Well, when I first saw this up, I thought of bar graphs, even like creating a bar graph, and it's already kind of set up in a bar graph, and you could transfer that idea to like an actual bar graph in front of the class on paper and translate each one of these pegs to like a number on the bar graph. Once they've identified their numbers, they can identify them on the graph and figure out where the number would go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's great. Actually, using even grid paper, like big block grid paper or something like that would be helpful, where you're numbering the lines, for the votes. And then we have these kind of spaced pretty far apart because we had the large pictures we were using, but to see the associations a little bit closer together, of course, you could use tiny pictures and kind of get the votes really close together to really see kind of those dramatic differences too. I think visually and tactily that may be helpful for some of the stage also. Other ideas that you can think of? I love the bar graph, and you can actually do that in paper, like the kids could have their own, or you could have a class bar graph that you're creating. Anything else that you're thinking?
Just along the bar graph, we've done it with types of weather days, sunny days, rainy days, those kind of things too. But
absolutely,
that would be more after the fact, after like a month. We did kind of a graph based on that.
Yeah,
like which one had the most and the least, like that.
And actually, that's a great example where you would get even more votes too. I think it would give you a larger range, And I think for this next part of the activity, it would make the pie graph that we're going to create more dramatic. More votes equals more dramatic kind of pie graph too. Any other thoughts before we switch gears?
Not yet.
Okay. So let's talk about how we're switching gears. I'm going to scooch this back just a little bit because we're bringing out some new materials. So now the votes are turning into tickets. So you talked about like having other types of bar graphs. We could use Unifix cubes for the same kind of activity, or other manipulatives as well, or beads, like any type of colored bead or something like that. And we're putting them on the chain or things like that. But what we did was I took the top three just to show this example. So we have the elephant vote, the monkey vote, and the lion vote, and represented by colors. So yellow represents the elephant vote, red represents the monkey vote, and green represents the lion vote. And I asked if you would have a stapler for me. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to staple the ends of these ticket types colors together. Oops, so I can, maybe if I can line this up and see. Okay, and then I'm going to attach the yellow ticket here to the red. Oops. This may seem weird, like I'm not attaching it to, you could use tape, of course, too. This is pretty simple. And if your kids need to learn how to use a stapler, it's a nice opportunity to do that safely.
I see what you're doing.
Thank you. And so what we're going to do with this then is, rather than having it laid flat as the bar graph style, we can turn it actually into a pie graph. So if I had, chart paper or some type of white paper underneath, I would actually try with, help of a partner or whatever, mark the areas for each of these, know how many votes I had in each area. We would create a big circle with our voting tickets, and then we would see that it's almost going to be a 50-50 from a fractional standpoint for our votes. So we would write the number in each of the quadrants. We'd have 3 quadrants total because we were calculating 3 different votes. In our lion area, which was green, we had 4 votes total there. In our red, which was the monkey, we had 5 votes here. And then for our elephant, we had 7 votes total there. And so we would actually be able to see the quadrants. The kids could actually color those in. They could see in the pie graph the percentage or the number of votes per quadrant of the fractional parts. And then we could actually convert it into fractions, where we're saying, 4, and I didn't count how many we had all together, out of our total. And then we could talk about reducing fractions at some point in time down the road. So these concepts really could grow into really deep concepts and other skills with fractions and decimals and parts of a whole. So lots of cool tools that we have in our classroom. And I think just expanding how we use them is what this particular video happens to be about, thinking about all the different ways that we can, particularly for math, really ramp up how we use tools and really go deep into the concepts and go from super basic skill sets to more advanced skill sets, even in one lesson or activity or opportunity for learning. All right. I thank you so much for letting me visit your classroom to hang out and talk through some of these strategies. If you're interested in having a visit to your classroom and you'd love to share ideas, materials, and we can do some of these videos together, feel free to reach out to me at Shauna_Benson@ocali.org. SHAWNA_BENSON @ocali.org. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.